As we look about the video landscape, there really has been, we're at this pivotal moment today where what we're seeing is that really the linear erosion we've been watching is again kind of at this changing point where we're really seeing consumers shifting over to streaming. And so as we think about how do we support all of our brands, it's critical to really ensure that our clients are up to speed and aware on this changing and dynamic marketplace. So for many advertisers that are big linear spenders, this upfront year is going to look different, and that we really need to embrace different video channels and different means because consumers' behaviors are changing. And so it's also critical for our brands to be changing the way that they're investing. As we think about connected TV specifically, to the consumer, they're really watching TV, they're watching video, they're watching their big screen. So to the consumer, this behavior feels normal, really picking up a different remote. But as we think about advertising, we know it's not the same. So there are some nuances in terms of how linear is bought versus connected TV. And really, as the marketplace and the industry, we're coming together to continue to find solutions and things to really break down some of those silos of those different buying behaviors. But really, it's critical to understand the dynamics of the connected TV marketplace because we know that it is dynamically and rapidly changing. We're seeing new partners emerge, we're seeing reach in different places and spaces, and it's becoming far more competitive. It's also becoming more competitive for where you can reach your consumers in ad-supported environments.
How do you function as a buyer? What does interoperability of the buying process mean? I mean, it used to you just faxed in an insertion order not too many years ago, and now it's far more complex. What are you looking for, or what does interoperability or a more unified buying environment look like, or what would you hope it to look like?
Yeah, I would say to get to that kind of interoperability that would be desirable is it's really relying on technology, and it's really having the vendor community, advertisers, and the tech partners coming together to build some of the solutions. So as we think about kind of breaking down the gap between linear and CTV, in linear we're buying on a Nielsen verified demo, buying GRPs. Where in digital you're buying often P2 plus, and you're often buying on impressions. So really it's coming together to kind of break down those two differences. But what I think will be helpful is as we look at technology and really as we think about just the partnership with supply side platforms and DSPs, demand side platforms as well, those are really helping us kind of bridge the gap. So as we look at one individual publisher, we have the ability to see, okay, where is that supply going and how do we help address some of the things like fragmentation and frequency and ensure that we're getting sufficient reach. And I'd say as we think about a lot of these things, measurement also becomes critically important as we're kind of losing reach on linear, but gaining it in digital video. How are we kind of validating the effectiveness of that holistic reach as we think about bridging those platforms and really being able to validate and verify that we're really achieving those critical KPIs and those business outcomes that our clients are expecting.
So more specifically on the sell side and the SSPs, there's a number of different SSPs are changing. There's different offerings. What is it that you would like to see in terms of, as a buyer from the SSPs? Give us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I would say today it's still a little complicated in terms of how the supply paths are. They're different for individual publishers. So some publishers are striking, certain supply deals with a certain SSP. So it's important to be able to kind of follow the inventory where it is currently being pathed. But as we work with SSPs, I think there is a great opportunity to take advantage of more programmatic guaranteed buying as we look to the upfront and being able to secure inventory in a programmatic fashion. But then also doing even more advanced things such as how are we applying data? How are we able to get data back off the platform so we're understanding kind of that user journey and thinking about things like frequency and media exposure. So there's opportunities for us to, one, ensure we're getting the appropriate supply. We're able to do it in efficient means, and then we're able to do it in a way that we're, like I said, we're managing frequency. We're able to measure and apply data more efficiently and effectively.
Beth, so let me ask you how you see ad experience and maybe how that's evolved in terms of the campaigns that you've done. I know you're doing quite a lot with some big companies, some auto manufacturers. Tell us sort of how life is in the trenches in terms of making this happen, and and what works for both consumers who have a bigger role and meeting the needs and the expectations of your clients.
Yeah, I would say as we think about really, it's at the end of the day, it really depends on what the KPI is of the brand, right? And as we deliver those ads to consumer based on that desired KPI, we want to ensure we're providing the consumer with an ideal experience because we have that opportunity in this digital landscape. So what that means is really understanding, let's say, where a user is within their user journey, and so being able to provide them a message based on where they're currently at. And so that way you're kind of serving the client and the consumer at the same time. But then there are also opportunities of how do we provide, in the CTV space, things like reduced ad load. We know consumers are open to ads, but we know they're open to them when they're tailored or personalized, or they may be more open to less ads in exchange for content. So with that in mind, I think it's delivering on what the brand is trying to achieve, but also meeting the consumer on what they want their experience to be. So we're thinking about this landscape to kind of serve both sides of the house.
Great. And finally, as a buyer, what would be your wish in terms of technology innovation over the next year or so when we meet for the next Newfront Upfront? What's on high on your checklist?
I will say high on my checklist really would be measurement. So being able to understand that the shift that we're seeing in the video landscape between that linear decline and really the growth in the digital video space, being able to effectively understand what reach looks like from a holistic campaign perspective. So that way we're able to understand how effective is all of my video media for whether it be reach or whether it be other more outcome, lower funnel based initiatives. So I think understanding that, we have some great solutions. We've made some great headway in terms of measurement, but I still think as an industry, we have a ways to go to look at the more holistic view of a full campaign versus looking, let's say, in a siloed walled garden or just in a few places. It feels like there are still some gaps with measurement, and being able to really dial in and focus on achieving some of these key questions that are still outstanding in the marketplace, and really breaking down the silos of linear and digital video is really top of my radar.